Mm-hmm.
All right. Who here eats food? Me too. All right. Who here eats genetically modified food? Very true. That's right. All of you eat genetically modified food. It's a real hot topic right now. It's only going to get bigger. It's growing faster and faster. The first time a genetically modified food was used was in 1994. It was a tomato. It was called the Flavor Save, and it delayed ripening. It's the first time. Since then, it has grown exponentially. It's only looking to grow faster. What you guys got here in the top, that's real strawberry. It's blue or purple. All they do is they take genes out and replace them with ones that they want. But, you know, they also create a little havoc. Up here is a genetically modified. This one's regular organic. Sometimes they make mistakes, and that's the big thing that they're doing right now is trying to find out the pros and the cons, because this is relatively new. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to break this down Barney style real quick, make it easy, because when I started researching, you know, I got, okay, well, genetics, and then genes, and then DNA. It just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So I'm just going to explain it real quick. It's going to be real simple, real easy. What you have up here, the top is the beneficial gene, the little blue part, and that's the unwanted gene. They take that from anything from plants to foods. You take out the gene, and then they transfer it into, it's called agrobacterium. Basically, it's like a medium. It's a place where the gene and what they want to cultivate can exist in the same space so they can put it together and then grow it. So, they put those two together and you get a brand new thread. For example, if you want to keep corn from pests, what that will do, you put that gene in there, it'll keep the it'll keep, bugs, insects, it's like a natural reaction to the genes that they put in there. One way to do it is transgenius, that top machine, they use a needle, it goes directly into what they're doing. And this one, same process, but they use this little machine. It has to be on a specific, special metal plate, and it kind of cooks it. Yeah, like I was saying before, they use animals, plants. They have a soybean, and they wanted to make it so that when that early frost comes, they can use a different gene so that it can live through the frosting. So they took genes from the Arctic salmon up by Alaska. They take that gene out, put it into the soybeans so that it can survive that frost. They also use, in Africa, they have a vitamin A deficiency. It makes people go blind. So what they're doing right now is they're taking straight up vitamin A, injecting it into rice, and they start growing it with this new gene. It's called golden rice because it looks gold, but it's super packed with vitamin A. They're taking it to Africa, and so it's trying to stop that loss of vitamin A and making kids go blind. Here you can see, back when the study started in 1996, it went up, and now it's in, the last study was at 2007. That's percentage of acres up here. So 100% would be all farmland used in the United States. Soybeans is at approximately 90% in the United States. Corn is about 60, but the jumps from 0 to 90 in 11 years, that's high growth. Some of the possible positives that can come from genetic manipulation, like I mentioned earlier, pests. You can alter the genes so that the pests don't even want to get around the corn. That'll save farmers money on, when they spray for, fertilizer. Not fertilizer, but when they spray for pest herbicide, it'll save farmers time on that. It can also, a lot of plants get diseases. For example, the pineapples in Hawaii, it was a ring virus is what it was called. It was wiping out all the pineapples. They did some research, injected some new genes in there. Now 80% of all pineapples grown are genetically modified because they still haven't found a cure for this virus. So without them physically modifying these plants, pineapples are going to die out. It's just that they don't know how to stop it right now. Some of the negatives, right now it's kind of hit and miss. They're not really fact because it just started so short, not so long ago. It's kind of hard to do studies on this stuff. But some of the trends that they've caught is the monarch butterfly. They like fields. It's called a silk milk, and it's in the pollen on the fields next to these cornfields that have been genetically modified. And little bits and pieces of this corn can float over and get into the pollen. Well, this happened, I think it was Arkansas, and tens of thousands of these monarch butterflies died while migrating. You can't have your crops killing tens of thousands of unintended insects. Also, when you're using, say, they used part of a peanut and put it into a soybean. Well, people have peanut allergies, severe allergies, and even though it's so small on a gene level, they can breed new allergies that, you know, maybe we just started a brand new allergy, a deadlier allergy. We don't really know right now. And that's the scary part is, the most dangerous things are the unknown things. They've only been doing research since 1994. You know, the long-term research hasn't come yet. We don't really know if there is any big long-term damage from this genetically modified things. Has anybody heard of Proposition 37 in California? Right now, it's a big thing. They're actually voting on it very soon, this month. Basically, it's a proposition saying that they want all food that has any genetic modifications to be labeled. There's pros and cons to that. A pro is you know what you're eating. You know everything in it, which everybody should have a right to know. There shouldn't be hidden things in your food. The flip side of that is you're going to have to separate the genetic food, genetically modified, from the regular food. So basically, you have to keep them completely separate. So you're basically going to have to start a brand new factory. One that has regular food, you know, organic, and the other is going to be GM, which is genetically modified. You know, you got to label everything. I mean, open a brand new factory, new trucks. I mean, and if you think that cost isn't going to trickle down to you, it is. You're going to be paying more for your food. So there's a flip side to each side of that proposition, but that is real big right now. Do you guys have any questions for me? I mean, I had some graphs up here. I could talk to you a little bit about that. The HT, I don't know if you guys noticed, this actually stands for, I wrote it down too, herbicide tolerance, and the BT is insect tolerance. Basically, the higher the HT, which is the herbicide tolerance, that's the more that they can put on top of the genetically modified food, and it will make no effect to it. You know, it's poison, you know, so they usually have to stress it out. Well, with these, you know, when they alter it, the pesticides have no effect on the food at all. It doesn't poison it, it doesn't hurt it. All it does is keep the insects away. Any of you guys have some questions?
Haven't things technically been genetically modified since people started farming or domesticating animals?
Not on a genetic level.
Well, isn't breeding dogs, for instance, like...
Yeah, but that's using nature. We're using science. Here, I'll go back right here. I'll show you guys this real quick. I can't use that. For example, I know you're talking how it's been around. This right here is an example of nature. You have the wanted genes and then the other partner. Well, when you mix the two, you know, and then you have one is the one partner and then the good. Well, it keeps dividing and dividing and dividing. It takes generations and generations. You can do this in less than a year. And you saw the numbers, how fast it's growing. It's growing exponentially. And so convenience factor, the time, that's the big positive.
And if humans constantly consume the pesticide stuff, would that make it so when a human were to die or whatever, that insects and other critters would be like, no way, I'm staying away from that thing?
How much corn do you eat? Are you eating tons and tons of corn?
I don't know.
Coming out of your nose?
I don't know.
No, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and, you know, I looked into that as well. And that's one of the worries is, are insects also going to become immune to the kind of changes you're making? Is it going to be worth it, or in 30 years are we going to be back, you know, right where we were with trying to find a new way to keep pests off our food? And, you know, and that's what these long-term studies are also doing. So it's going to take time to find all that out. Anybody else?
Have you ever watched the documentary called Food Inc.?
I've watched some of it before, not the whole thing.
One thing that surprised me was with the soybeans. Did you hear about the company called Monsanto's?
Mm-hmm.
What they're doing is they're going around to different farms and they're checking the genetics in the farmers' soybeans. And soybeans from other people's farms that are buying from Monsanto's are ending up on other people's farms, and then Monsanto's suing those farms.
Because they're basically stealing from them.
But they're not, because it's the wind that's taking the soybeans
And it's
over
altering.
to the other farms, and they're like converging the seeds like how nature's supposed to. It's taking those seeds from the other farms and putting them together, and then they're suing them because they found them on their farm.
That's another worry in what they're doing, or an idea of what they can do, is create a buffer zone between crops. And it's only like 20 or 30 yards, because that's as far as they can travel in the air before it would hit the ground. And that's the study that they're doing. So they're thinking about putting up buffer zones in between there. Anything else? All right, guys. Well, in conclusion, there's a lot of good stuff going on. There's also the possibility for, you know, bad things to happen as well. But it's new, and it takes time to do research. So while we shouldn't stop ourselves from using science to better our food's condition, you know, the amount, the quality, the taste, if we can use science to make it better, I say it sounds like a pretty great idea. But it's new, it's untested, and you have to proceed with caution so that, you know, nothing serious happens, and it's not a detriment to our country or our world for that matter. Thanks.